You've got to learn to reduce the amount of Panadol that you take for other people's headache. This isn't one of those give me 6.5 minutes and I will delete your fear of what people think type videos, because that is an unrealistic goal. The reality is that change is very hard. It's not impossible, but it's near impossible to do in less than 8 minutes. But in this video, I will help you start caring a lot less about what people think about you. Seneca once said, "He who suffers before it's necessary suffers more than is necessary," emphasizing that anticipating or worrying about future problems, what people may think, causes unnecessary suffering. Now, here's the reality. Many people struggle to pursue what they really want out of fear of what people may think. When I hear this in conversations, I now always ask the question, what specific people are you talking about? i.e., what are their names? In most cases, the other person has a hard time responding, and they'll often say, people. Here's the great irony of this situation. You are stuck in a mental prison, worried about other people judging you or what they might think, whereas these other individuals are worried about others judging their lives, judging their decisions, and are often too consumed with that to have enough mental capacity to judge you or worry about your decisions. From my experience, I found that those who have deep concerns or deep worries about what other people think are typically overthinkers themselves. The fear of what other people think isn't correlated with intellect or the lack thereof. It's correlated with being human. Now, the biological purpose of fear is to help the human body avoid pain. And if you have ever burnt your finger touching a hot iron, you know precisely what I mean. So the next time you get close to a hot iron and this is something you know will cause pain, it's beneficial to actually feel a little bit of fear. It prompts you to take actions to avoid pain. So in a biological context, fear is useful. It helps you learn from your mistakes and it increases your chances of biological survival. However, I would argue that the number of physical threats that can do us lethal harm is pretty limited. But yet, fear runs rampant in modern society. We all want to look good in the eyes of others. And it's certainly preferable to be respected, admired, and liked than not to be. But here's where we have a problem. When you deviate from your life's strategic plans for the sake of validation, you risk heading in a non-strategic direction. And rather than implementing your own desired life strategy, you may end up implementing someone else's strategy that they've mapped out for their lives, or maybe a blueprint of what they think your life should look like. And one thing to remember is this. If someone has an idea or a blueprint of what they think your life should look like, this is based off of their values. It's what they want or what they think is important and not what you want or you think is important for yourself. And it's typically biased towards validating their own life choices. For example, let's say that you and I got job offers in AI as well as investment banking. Our tendencies are to convince the other person to take the opportunity or the offer that we're taking. And that is because when others in similar sets of circumstances as ourselves make the same decisions that we make, it's reassuring. But when they make choices that are different from our own, it can sometimes cause a little bit of doubt in our decisions. And when we are pondering and having these self-dialogues around what other people will think, we often forget. Different people have different values, different ambitions, and different goals to us. If I wanted to become a doctor and you wanted to become an AI engineer, it wouldn't make sense for you to go to medical school, nor would it make sense for me to go to an engineering school. In the same vein, when you have a decision to make versus someone else, you need to remind yourself, we both have different goals and different values. Two individuals may be faced with the same opportunity, but make two entirely different decisions because this is based on differences in their desired outcomes. And in my experience, in the past, when I have spent an ungodly amount of time worrying about what someone else or certain people might think, and I've actually approached them for their thoughts, they've often said, "Oh, I wasn't even thinking about that," or "I wasn't worried that you would make the wrong decision because I trust you to make the right one." What a waste of time. Look, you probably will never stop worrying about what people think because, well, we're human and it's perfectly natural to be concerned about whether or not you're liked. And typically, we worry about the negative thoughts that people might have towards our decisions or our actions. Don't forget this. You don't always agree with what other people think or the choices they make. So why would you expect everyone to agree with your choices and the decisions you make? This is editing room Jimoke. I'm just on holiday with my family in the forest. So I just wanted to add this additional point. You could be the sweetest of hearts. Someone somewhere will have a problem with the fact that you exist. Always have a problem with what you do. And some people are just going to dislike you or have a lot to say about what you're doing because they themselves don't have the boldness and the courage to do the things you're doing. So they will always have something to say about the choices, the decisions, the actions that you've made. I once ran into a YouTube channel of a sweet old lady who baked, knitted, and shared her knowledge on YouTube. And I was flabbergasted to see a video of her to appeal to people to be kinder, close to tears, talking about the unexpected poison she was getting in her comment section. I was dumbfounded because this was a sweet old lady who was just sharing her knowledge on YouTube, was not doing anyone any harm, but someone still had a problem with the fact that she was on YouTube sharing her knowledge. Luckily, she has a supportive husband who just said to her, "You've got to write this off, honey. They are jealous because you're close to 700,000 subscribers. There'll always be individuals who have a problem with what you're doing because, again, they don't have the courage to do it themselves. You cannot remain in a mental cage or a mental prison worrying about what people will think. There'll always be opinions about what you're doing. Some people are going to dislike you simply for existing. What are you going to do about it? There are some individuals that will see what you're doing. They wish they had the boldness and the courage to do it, but because they don't, they will proceed to giving you negative feedback. And they'll say, "Oh, it's because I'm so concerned. I'm so worried. I'm thinking about you. That's why I've decided to give you this feedback." You, as an individual, have to discern what is uplifting and what is good advice and advice or opinions that need to go in the bin. A lot of people do that. They speak from both sides of their mouth under the guise of trying to help you. You've got to learn to reduce the amount of Panadol that you take for other people's headache. And people will throw at you what you allow them to throw at you. So when they start to understand that their comments, their thoughts do nothing to affect you, they'll eventually move on to the next person because all of a sudden you're not a very interesting person to them anymore because there's a gate, there's like a blockade stopping the impact of their negativity towards you. So make sure you are consistently auditing the people around you. This is a life skill that I think everyone should be taught. The more you deviate from the opinions or the structure that other people have placed on you, the more you find that, unfortunately, old friends can quickly become new enemies. I'll bet that if you reflect on where you are today, people had opinions, whether good or bad, on the decisions, on the actions that you've taken to be where you are today. So if you didn't let that stop you in the past, why worry about it in the future? Let me leave you with a parting thought. When you start to worry about whether people approve of what you're doing or whether they like you, I want you to remember this. You don't even like everyone. And so there's that. Look after yourselves. Bye for now.